Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, in this video I will to discussion about the materials, and the materials is characteristic of effective EFL instructor in Iran content. So let me introduce my member. Our member is, the first speaker is me, alias Zalsabila. And the second speaker is Andi Mualima Yusuf, and the next speaker is Nurul Khairia, and the last speaker is Nurmi. So this material I will discussion some of the materials. The first, introduction and review of literature about characteristic of effective EFL instruction. And the next, what are the characteristics of an effective teacher according to student? And the next, what item has the most priority in each category of the questionnaire according to student? And the last material is conclusion about characteristics of effective EFL instruction Iran content. The first materials is introduction and review of literature about characteristics of effective EFL instruction by me. Introduction. The Iranian government, on the one hand, advocates conservative policies in all fields of its administration, including the Ministry of Education. On the other hand, with the arrival of mass media, the satellite and internet, the Iranian public is also exposed to new modern method of thinking and learning. This disparity can be clearly noticed in the English lesson curriculum designed by the Ministry of Education and English classes offered by private language school outside school time. Private language school in Iran are known for offering good quality education with the less method and the best teacher. However, what complains about language teacher itself and controversial issue. And the next, review of literature. Review of literature. Change in language teaching method during the past century are directly influenced by the needs that arise from the learns when modern language attend the education system in Europa country. And then they are of using the some method that were used that is memorizing a list of vocabulary, strict grammatical rules, and sentence of translation. By the end of the 18th century, this method became commonplace in all higher education institutes as standard way learning foreign language, and was later referred to as grammar translation method. Some of the main principles of this method were: the first, the main purpose of learning is foreign language is learning about its literature, and the second is reading, writing, and speaking grammar is primary importance, and the third, acquiring is of extreme importance, and the next, the student native language is used in the classroom, and the last is lessons are teacher centered. And then, after a couple of decades with the presence of the words in Europa during beginning of the 20th century, a new need of language learning emerged. And then, the approach offered by the army later developed into a new approach called the audiolingual method. And then, some of the main principles of this approach are: the first, foreign language learning is a mechanic process and can be saved through continual repetition of structure and conservation. And the second, spoken from the language outweighs written from in importance. And third, the student native language is forbidden in the classroom. And the next, there is no tolerance of error. And the last, or the five, lessons are teacher-centered. Okay, I think just it for the first material, and the next second materials is what are the characteristics of an effective teacher according to student, by Andi Mualima Yusuf. And I think just for me, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So I'm gonna explain about characteristic of an effective teacher according to student. For personal qualities, there are teacher's candor, good appearance, being self-confident, being enthusiastic and lively, being creative and spontaneous, having a loud and clear voice, being punctual, having passion with students, having interest in his or her job and feeling responsibility for teaching. For commanding English category, there are accuracy of teacher vocabulary, structure, pronunciation, and fluency in foreign language. For teaching methodology category, there are using appropriate teaching techniques, using pantomime, pictures, and acting to clarify points, providing detailed explanation while reading or listening, using the student native language when necessary, going beyond textbook when teaching, providing cultural information about the target language culture, providing explicit error correction, giving regular homework tasks, use of pair work, use of group work, using suitable amount of teacher talk, and encouraging students to use the English language all the time in class. For evaluation method category, there are given quizzes frequently and asking oral questions at the beginning of each session. For amount of teachers' emphasis on different skill category, there are emphasizing grammar, speaking, vocabulary, and listening. For mastery of our teaching category, there are capability to communicate ideas, knowledge, and teaching items, knowledge of student matter, preparation and lesson planning, capability to answer student question, use of efficient and adequate method of elicitation while teaching, ability to guide students to independent learning, knowledge of student specialist course, and ability to identify the student learning styles. For teacher-student relation, there are having respect for student, being kind and friendly with student, encouraging participation, creating motivation, helping to create self-confidence in student, attracting and maintaining student attention, individual help to student, knowledge of student mother tongue, providing appropriate feedback to students, having contact with student parents, asking for student feedback, and being available outside of class. And the last is class management institute program categories. There are use of whiteboard efficiently, use class time wisely, maintaining order in class or class control, following the material specified and guidelines provided by the institutes, and the last is movement around the class.
Well, next, I want to explain about what item has the most priority in each category of the questionnaire according to student. The first section of the questionnaire was regarding to the personal qualities of an effective teacher, as can be seen on the table above. The gender, age, appearance, and learners of the teacher is of very little importance to the majority of the students. What is more interesting is that a vast number of the students numbered the item having interest in his job and feeling responsible for teaching as their first priority in terms of the importance of the item in comparison to the other 9 items in the personal qualities category. Second, the teacher's command. of a foreign language is taking into consideration. What is evident from this table is that the majority of the students thought that all the items in this category are of importance. In fact, none of the students might mark the not important option. The third is regarding the methodology applied in the classroom. The students show a preference towards teachers who encourage students to use the L2 in the classroom all the time. At all times, more than half of the students, 66.66%, mark this item as very important. Fourth is regarding the evaluation methods applied to the classrooms. The majority of the students mark both written and oral forms of evaluation as either important or very important, which accentuates the importance of continuous evaluation in the students' perceptions. In comparing written and oral forms of evaluation, students show a preference towards oral quizzes with 80.95% of participants marking oral form of evaluation as their first priority. The last is the student prefer teacher to work on their oral skills in comparison to other skills. This is reflected in the priority the students give to the teachers to focus on speaking to. More than half of the participants, 52.38%, mark this item as their first priority. Moreover, only 2.38% of the student mark the not important at all option for emphasizing grammar, which shows the moderate importance student attribute to grammar. Thank you.
Before I start my section, I will introduce myself. My name is Nurmi, and for this section, I will be the fourth speaker. In this fourth section, explain about conclusion about characteristic of effective EFL constructor. This investigation established what the students felt were the attributes of effective EFL lectures. According to this research, some of the most important features of an effective and successful EFL teachers are having interest in his or her job, having a sense of responsibility towards his or her job, being enthusiastic and lively, being self-confident, being punctual, encouraging students to use the target language at all times, providing explicit grammar correction, providing detailed explanation during reading and listening text, emphasizing frequent oral quizzes, emphasizing all skills, especially speaking, having knowledge of subject matter, having the ability to communicate ideas effectively, having the ability to answer the students' question, having respect for students, being kind and friendly, encouraging participation, creating motivation in students, helping to increase the students' self-confidence during learning, taking students' feedback about class into consideration, using the class time wisely, and maintaining class order. Taking the Iranian EFL context into consideration, one tends that the student perception regarding the teaching and learning process have often been neglected. Teachers and institutional managers have specific certain criteria for teaching without considering the main participant of the classroom, that is the student. The findings of the current paper have specific implications for existing and prospective EFL lecturers and teachers. Teachers have to take the student needs and perspective into consideration when teaching. The old method of teacher-centered Classrooms must give way to the new student-centered approaches in the Iranian EFL context for successful and effective learning to take place. Teachers must realign their teaching according to the students' ideas rather than do what they themselves feel is appropriate. The Iranian EFL context demands further research in this regard. Researchers can investigate the implication gender, age, ethnicity, social class have on the student perception regarding the teaching process within classroom. Also, such research ought to be carried out on a broader scale to yield more precise results. Okay, maybe just that from me. Thank you.